Hello, Soul Tribe, friends and family. I'm here for a different kind of video today. I'm going to be talking about sacred rage. I posted a video, a YouTube short on here recently of me punching this little punching bag, and it led me to want to talk about sacred rage, which often in society, in our family, in our programs by ourselves, is very suppressed, it's denied, it's even looked down upon, which sacred rage is nothing to feel guilt or feel shameful about. 33 seconds as I say that. You know, sacred rage is actually such a creative force. Rage, and by the way, in general, so when we're talking about these energies, we're talking about the lower chakras, right? So specifically, really when it comes to rage, sacred rage, the root chakra. And it's a creative force. But it's something that due to trauma, due to programs, due to religion, due to all these different types of systems and programs and things, we're taught to deny it, we're taught to suppress it. We're taught that sacred rage is bad. And part of the reason also why I bring this up, 111 as I say that, is because when it comes to these energies in the collective, when it comes to even just Kundalini rising, it starts at the root. And so in the root, there's those energies of sexuality, there's those energies of rage, of suppression, of all of those different things that are really meant to be sacredly released. And keyword sacred, right? Because it can be a destructive force in the means of creating separation. But if we're able to observe rage from a place of more of like creation when it comes to that destructive energy, we're able to use it in a sacred way that if anything, 144, as I say this, unifies rather than separates. You know, and the presence of rage in general. So like when you feel rageful, when you feel angry, when you feel pissed off, frustrated, that's the sacred masculine. That's the sacred feminine, right? Lilith is the sacred. She's the true sacred feminine, Lilith, not Eve. And it's the dark masculine. It's the dark feminine. But in its most sacred form, there's no such thing as bad. There's no such thing as bad. But when it comes to these energies or these emotions, it is how you use the energy. So are you using it from the heart space, or are you using it from the lower three chakras? And even when it comes to the lower three chakras, it's unifying that with the heart space. So the presence of rage within your energetic field, and you feel it in your body, whatever it is, that in itself is not bad. Usually, rage, right, those types of energies, it will come up. And by the way, like, we're in the human experience, our lower chakras are the animal, right? And it's a way that your body, your system is letting you know, okay, some sort of boundary has been overstepped, which again, there is the need to decipher, like, is this coming from trauma, or is this truly like my body, right? Like, we're in the human experience, so we need those lower chakras to help us navigate this physical realm. Again, we're in the human experience, so we need some sort of navigation to know when there is a true threat to, like, say, our safety, our boundaries, whatever that is, and when it's coming from trauma, you know. So like a lot of people with trauma end up with like an overactive root chakra or even underactive root chakra because of the trauma, you know, and that's when you find people who are just very angry in general, or even people who suppress it completely, you know, that would also be like a suppressed root chakra or underactive, you know, because it's not being released. But all in all, the root chakra, when it comes to like sacred rage, because there is a little bit of that in the collective, we've had a lot of fire purification. Okay, so how can you use that? How can you use that from the heart space? Because when you do feel that, it's actually a creative force, and it's going to feel destructive. And I am going to talk about Kali Ma today, which I have over here on my neck. And a lot of people, you've probably seen Kali Ma like in some of my videos and things like that. She is a goddess of destruction, a goddess of creation. She has just so many faces. But she also is known for that destructive, almost like sacred, rageful nature. And when it comes to Goddess Kali Ma, I never really searched for her. So with her, and this was just been my spiritual journey too, where I didn't really search for things. There was like these sudden awakenings within me, and then things without of me clicked or started to come to me and made sense. But when it came to Kali Ma, 144, I myself in childhood had a very unpredictable home. A very unpredictable home where I had to constantly be in flight or fight, but I also couldn't show that. And so I grew up with the trauma of being in flight or fight. I grew up with the trauma of witnessing people who were very angry people. And I wasn't allowed to be, but oftentimes I had to protect myself. And then when it comes to astrology, just like about my personal story, I'm a Libra Mars. So I really enjoy balance, and Libra Mars is actually such an uncomfortable placement because Mars is aggression, it's the masculine. Mine is in Libra, ruled by Venus, so naturally, I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight. I just want to love. My Pisces is in Venus too. However, if I personally, like the way that I know that I operate, if I get upset, it's because something has come out of balance and now I'm upset. My Libra's in the first house. Mars is in actually the 12th house for me with Libra, so for my personal aggression, to come out, it takes a lot. It takes a lot, and usually it's in the presence of something that truly is out of balance. That's what would make me personally upset and angry. You really have to overstep a boundary. You really have to be doing something to me or someone else that's like, whoa, that's not right, and then that's when my Kalima energy comes out. And so when it comes to my own energy, right, my own root chakra or my own experience with sacred rage, that would only come out when I had to protect myself. And I did grow up in not only the home, but a lot of different situations where I did kind of have to protect myself. And I was never the first aggressor, but it would end. If I had to defend myself, the whole thing is going to end and it stops right there, And so for me, when it comes to letting out my sacred rage, I've learned how to not suppress it. I've learned that if I do feel rageful, and again, take this as it resonates for you. Look at your birth chart, look at your childhood traumas, look at how your parents grew up, how you were raised, and things like that, the programs. I know for me that if I notice myself upset or angry, it's truly only when there's something out of balance, and it's a way, or I have to find ways rather to transmute it. So I was always very active. I played a lot of sports. I have a lot of Pisces, so I created these dream worlds. I created art, which again, that anger that you may feel, that may arise in any situation or whatever it is, that's a creative energy. You can take the energy of sacred rage and turn it into passion and into purpose. Rather than spewing it out, rather than projecting it to other people, you can use that to rise not only in consciousness, higher passion, higher purpose. Oh yeah, you make me upset, I'm gonna go work out. I'm gonna go improve my body. I'm gonna go create something. And when it comes to the energy of artists, a lot of artists actually create best when they're transmuting emotions and things like that. It's transmuting the sacred rage. It's releasing it. It's embodying it in a way that's sacred. And sacred heart space. Nothing in the lower chakras is bad at all that you feel. Nothing that comes up. No emotion. Observe it, of course, but it's never bad. Align it with the heart and allow that to be released or transmuted into higher, which is the heart space. So when it comes to, again, so the Kalima energy, she came to me. There was this big awakening from within me. I had no clue who Kalima was, but I did grow up, again, if I felt the sacred rage, it was immediately to protect, and so, in situations in my life when I had to defend myself, I would be calm, and I am a smaller being, a smaller woman, but if I had to, all of a sudden it was really big energy. But I had to learn how to control that, because say even if it was just, right? And I've been in these types of situations where it's kind of freaking just that I'm upset right now. You are responsible for your own energy, your own sacred rage. And it's important even if you feel sacred rage, it could be just, it's important to transmute it. It's important to release it in a sacred way. You know, so like even I've had situations in childhood and in the past where maybe I was defending myself, but, or maybe it was just, but that reaction probably was not necessary, you know? And so I had this big awakening with Kalima years ago. And she kept coming to me, and coming to me in the form of people, in the form of teachers, and then in the temples, you know. And so for me, when I was doing my deep shadow work and healing, it was not these love and light goddesses that were helping me. Like, it was, I needed Kalima because she was truly the only one that I felt understood me. And again, I never sought her out. It was a big awakening within me. And when it comes, again, like these dark goddesses, or like Medusa, Kalima, Persephone, Sekhmet, energies like that, those energies, those goddesses, again, reflections of you, archetypes of you, are really good with dealing with those lower energies and bringing them into their sacred form to be released or transmuted for the higher good, you know. And so again, like growing up, it would be those situations where, unfortunately, like in the experiences that I experienced, I could be silent, you know, and then it's like poking, you know, or like I'm trying to avoid a conflict or situation, and there's taunting, or like, again, abuse and things like that. And then that's when I would see red, right? And I'm sure people can resonate with, and maybe some people don't, but for those who have experienced rage in those forms, you see red, and then boom, it can be destructive. And that does not serve you. That does not serve the spiritual benefit of all beings. But it is also a gift. It is also a gift. When you feel things intensely, no matter what it is that you feel, it's a gift, but it's how you use it. And so I spent years like working on that and things like that. And even about a year ago, I was a bartender. And I remember one of the customers that would come in, they would say, Jocelyn, you are the most calm person in this room. Like, everyone's going crazy. How do you do it? You know, or like, you're just so calm. But Kalima. So you're responsible for your own energy. But no energy that comes up is bad, especially when it comes to sacred rage. How can you use that? When it arises from within you, when you feel it, right? And like in the physical body, let's talk about the body, the nervous system, right? You tense up, just like an animal tenses up, or like a porcupine starts to put out their spikes, or whatever it is. Like, we're animals. We have an animal nature. We're divine beings. We have an animal nature. All animals have some sort of defense mechanism. Skunks release the freaking spray, you know, like we all have our own way. How can you use that in its sacred form? And while I don't struggle with sacred rage anymore, and I'm also able to, even in places now of flight or fight, which I have experienced, I've still experienced that sometimes, I am able to not go red and not use it as a destructive force. It doesn't mean that I don't feel upset or angry in the midst of something that maybe it's like, okay, this is effed up. This is effed up. But I'm able now to not project that onto others. And most people don't even see it or even know it. But I channel it in different ways. Maybe it's working out. Maybe it's punching a punching bag. Maybe for me, it's also dance. I like to create art. I pour more into myself. Like, oh yeah, well, guess what? I'm gonna heal, and I'm gonna work on my body. Whatever this energy is feeling, I'm gonna release it, and I'm gonna move it and turn it into something beautiful. And so whenever you feel sacred rage, some people may feel it more intensely than others. That in itself is not bad. But make sure that you use it and align that, right? For the root chakra of that sacred rage, aligning that to the heart space and using that, channeling that in a very sacred way in whatever works for you. Maybe it's working out, maybe it's dancing, maybe it's writing, whatever it is, for yourself and for the spiritual benefit of all beings. And I had an awakening about sacred rage about almost a year ago. When it comes to my journey with shamanism, which even shamanism, right? Shamanic, that's actually a very Western term. But my journey with shamanism, I have, with different medicines, maybe done almost 20 ceremonies, in which, when you're on the journey of sacred medicine, 100 ceremonies, 200 ceremonies, 300 ceremonies, there's always a different surrender. It's infinite. The amounts of ways you could surrender are infinite, which is also why I love the sacred medicine journey, and that I've awakened to it and been on the journey, because it's taught me surrender, not only in the medicine, but it teaches you surrender in your own life in different ways. But it was actually during a shamanic ceremony that I had this awakening of sacred rage. And so I was already working on my own traumas and things, and balancing my chakras, all that fun stuff for years. And I had already done a lot, right? I did maybe 8 to 10 ceremonies by that point already. And in that specific ceremony, my intention was, you know what? Give me some clarity, God. Ancestors, give me some clarity. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, what's the clarity? And that was my only intention, clarity. And in the ceremony, I would say maybe, it was very quick, maybe an hour to an hour and a half in, and it lasted maybe 6 hours. I was knocked out. My physical body was knocked out. I couldn't move. I was seeing different visuals, experiencing different things and energies. But my eyes were closed. I was completely pin quiet. I was on the floor. I could not move. And in my journey, I just remember a tug, the shaman. And I started to feel this concern, and I knew the shaman, I knew them personally. And I was like, okay, I feel like the shaman needs my help, but I'm in the middle of my own experience, so I don't know what exactly is going on. But I remember louder, the shaman. And there was a point where all of a sudden my vision went red. And I don't know if you've heard, it's almost like a flat line, like beep, or like when you hear your ears ringing, but both ears at the same time. And it was at the same time that I saw red. And mind you, I'm still knocked out, and this is happening within me, and I just see red. It will beep. And in that moment, I left my body. And I was already connecting with Kalima, and already in the temples and learning and unlearning for maybe about 2 to 3 years, when it came to the Kalima energy. And consciously at least. And in this shamanic ceremony, in my own space, I knew that there was either an energy or an entity or something that was trying to attach to that shaman. And although I was unconscious at the time, I was asleep, my higher self was like, oh, no. You are not going to touch that shaman while he's giving a ceremony. You're not going to touch him. And everything went red. It was like, beep. And I left my body, and it was Kalima. And so I became Kalima in that shamanic ceremony. And I remember looking down at my body and seeing me just lying on the floor. And no one else knew this was going on. The shaman didn't know this was going on. The other people in the ceremony didn't know this was going on. And I remember being so angry. My vision went red in the ceremony, and I left my body. And I looked at Jocelyn, but it was Kalima looking at Jocelyn. And I remember in this ceremony, and I'm trying to word it the best way that I can, because some of it's not, especially with shamanic ceremonies and medicine, not all of it words can describe. But I remember setting the whole room, all the walls on fire. And I remember the shaman would stay behind me, and I was Kalima, and I stepped in front of him. And I looked at all the people that were surrounding him, and I remember just throwing balls of fire. And I remember having a sword, and there was these dark figures that, at least how I can perceive, were coming out of the people. And I was just, and it was the most chaotic thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. I still have not had an experience like that. When I mean pure chaos, but in its pure sacred form. That's the thing. This was chaos, and it's sacred rage and chaos, and it's pure and sacred form. I can't still today, my words describe exactly what that felt or looked like, but I remember seeing my body on the floor. I remember sitting in front of the shaman, going like this, like you're not gonna get towards the shaman. and looking at everyone in front of me and screaming, and my tongue was out like Kali Ma, and I just remember. And I don't know how long that was. I have no clue how long it was, but I do know that I cleared the room at that time. Whatever energy was trying to get to the shaman or touch the shaman, it was the energy of my higher self was like, you need to go through me in order to get to that shaman. Because that's the only way you're going to touch that shaman. That's the only way you're going to attach to that shaman. You need to go through me. And it was a very firm. So after some time, I remember the room being cleared out and there was no more of those darker energies. And I went back into my body. Like it was like right here. I went back into my body, Kali Ma. And then I remember I woke up, and from the time I woke up, like I just knew what to do, and I started helping him and like doing everything and the candles and this and that. Like I had no clue why I knew what to do. But again, my intention was clarity, you know, and so it was I gained a lot of different forms of clarity, and we won't maybe go into all of that, but I definitely gained clarity of what it is that I was led to do, and also about sacred rage, you know, of what a, yes, destructive, but powerful, creative, and sacred force that it truly is. And it's not something to deny, because I remember when I was a child, again, like when it came to those flight or fight energies, my vision would go red, which I don't experience at all and haven't experienced in a very long time. And just don't experience it. But in the shamanic ceremony, right, the sacred medicine ceremony, that's very sacred, my vision went red and there was no controlling it. It was and destroying everything. And I mean like spitting up fire. Like it was, there's no words to describe how it felt. But it gave me so much clarity. Not only about like my journey, but about sacred rage too in general. And Kali Ma, as she's someone who, an energy, a goddess, an archetype that is very prevalent on my own journey of my own healing. She's really helped me with my healing, especially of like the lower energies, you know, and just the remembrance. And that experience taught me just a lot about sacred rage. You know, is rage really bad? Or can it be used in a sacred way to bring all the energies within or without of you to higher, to sacred, to the heart space? Because whatever energies were coming out of those people and whatever energies or entities were like trying to get to the shaman, I was like, you have to go through me, and you're going to go through my fire first. And again, that fire, right, is just purification. A lot of people fear the fire. I always said the quote of like, I don't mind walking into the fire. The fire is purification of the lower energies to bring them and transmute them into higher, to make them come from like the sacred heart space. And so I shared this story just as a means of shifting your perspective when it comes to sacred rage. Because too often do I say, even in my one-to-one sessions, people are like, you know, I feel really bad, I feel this way, I feel that way, you know, or people who maybe can't control the rage and things like that. And you feeling it intensely is not necessarily a bad thing. Don't shame yourself, but know how to use that, because it can be a gift when it's used in a sacred form, right? So like, and I would always think like, why did these things happen to me in my life? You know, perhaps it's to gain the wisdom from those experiences. You know, there's that quote of, I was once given a box of darkness, and I realized that too can be a gift. You know, and I find that a lot of people who have experienced a lot of trauma, whether it's sexual trauma, again, like the things of the lower chakras, anger, jealousy, this, that, like all those different lower energies, people who've experienced a lot of that, that's a gift, you know. And it's up to you, it's up to your, you know, your own self. You're responsible for your own energy. It's up for you to bring that up to the heart space, to release what needs to be released, and to bring and align those chakras to the heart space. But it's not a bad thing. And it's a shame that sometimes I do see people like shame people like, like, no, that person, when they bring that shadow to the light, that person has a gift. We talk about the golden shadow too. It's the golden shadow, you know? And so I share this with you just because there's a lot of Kundalini rising in the collective energy, which comes from the root, which means those lower energies, You know, I've been seeing a lot of people who are coming to me like, why do I feel depressed? Why do I feel rageful? Why do I feel frustrated? Why do I feel anxious? All of those are the lower chakras. And right now, as a collective, we are, I mean, it's really like a full body clearing. It's a full body activation. There's just so much going on. But when it comes to you experiencing and observing, you experience, you observe it, but don't claim it, right? Experiencing and observing those lower energies, emotions coming up and arising out. It's safe to be released. You know, we need a world where it is safe for the shadow 144 to come into the light, where you're not suppressed and you're not, you know, we talk about love and light. Everything is truly love and light, but you need to bring the light and the love to it, right? If it's in the shadow. And so for those of you who are experiencing those energies, maybe it's like the sacred rage, maybe it's a lot of sexuality, maybe it's, you know, the sadness, like everyone's experiencing different things. It's safe for you to release that. It's not yours to hold or to carry. It's also, you don't have to hide that. Find sacred spaces. Maybe it's a sacred space. Maybe it's a closet space. Maybe you're screaming into a pillow. Maybe you're going to the gym. It's up to you to transmute that, to bring it to the heart space. And instead of like having it as a, say, destructive force or as a means that creates separation between you and others when it comes to any of those energies in the lower chakras, unifying that, which again, that comes from the heart space. Unifying that and using that, because when you transmute it, it truly can be used for the highest good. And it's a very powerful force, you know, sexuality is life force. Rage is really passion and purpose. And also a part of rage is grief. Rage is, behind rage is grief, right? Sadness, because a boundary has been overstepped. It's passion and it's also purpose, you know, so using that for the higher good, but not denying any part of you, because there is a big clearing in the collective. There are a lot of changes and transitions in a lot of our lives, and it's up to you to just observe it all. And the key word is observation, playing the observer with a higher level of awareness. That's what I have for you on Sacred Rage and some of those lower energies. If you have any questions, my email, my booking link is also in the box below when it comes to booking one-on-one sessions, Akashic Records, or one-on-one readings. But I love you all. May you transmute any energies to higher and bring it to the heart space. And I hope that you have a great day.